What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about that WB statement regarding Suicide Squad Kill of Justice League. Now, look, it's been a day, and there's been a lot of opinions online. We're going to read it, and we're going to look at a couple of different ways of looking at it, because I think there's a cut and dry kind of way that a lot of outlets, a lot of people in general, and there's also like, okay, well, what were they expecting from this thing? There's quite a bit. I do just want to say, I don't know what's going on with this game, but it's definitely spawning some of the weirdest people that I've seen out there. I guess I have like noticed this even leading into this game, but it's very much become like you draw a line in the sand and like you can't cross sides. Like you either think this game is the worst thing God has ever, like birthed onto Earth, right? It's either like the worst thing ever, and you're like the biggest dummy or biggest idiot on planet Earth if you played it, or you think the game is like the next coming of Jesus Christ, and if anybody said anything negative about this game whatsoever, they're like in a cult, and they're like these evil people. I don't know what's going on. Now, there's definitely like gray area into it, but it's really becoming that. And I tend to live kind of like in the middle where I see different sides and I hold my own very strong opinion, but I understand where people are coming from, but it's just weird. I've seen some like really god-awful takes of, again, the game is the greatest, and if you say anything negative about it, you're the cause of the game doing bad. It's not the game's fault that the game didn't do well. It's the people that said, hey, maybe I don't like this or that. It's your fault, which is a really weird way of taking it. Anyway, let's look at this. So, speaking during a financial call, their financial officer admitted that Rocksteady's game hadn't done the business the company had hoped for since going on sale on February 2nd, saying it had fallen short of our expectations. WB Discovery failed to mention a sales figure for the game, but did say that its failure had set up the company's games business for a tough year-on-year comparison. Last year, obviously, Hogwarts Legacy, which we'll talk about later. This year's Suicide Squad, one of our key video game releases in 2024, has fallen short of our expectations since its release earlier in the quarter, setting our games business up for a tough year-over-year comparison in quarter one. And that's pretty much the gist. In fact, I think that's actually where the quote ends. So, all right. Again, a couple ways of, figuring this out. I want to say like a blanket statement thing first. Fair or not fair, it being a disappointment and it failing expectations is a problem. Now, again, don't forget that first part. It doesn't matter if it's fair or not fair. We will talk about that later. But regardless, I am concerned, interested, whatever, what happens, because I do think somebody kind of pays the price for this, or something, or some company, or, something like that, right? I know, and I guess we can immediately go into the next part of it. Is it fair? All right, well, I don't think the game did all that well. In fact, we've talked about that, right? It's hard to judge exactly how well sales have been, and maybe eventually we find out, but obviously not right now. So you can say that. But if they thought it was going to reach Hogwarts Legacy, they're insane. Now, the tough thing is we don't know, because they say it didn't meet expectations, and also that now it sets them up for a real... But I guess the way they word it is well, if they say that, oh man, the game didn't do well, now we're going to look really bad compared to quarter one last year. Well, that does mean that they thought the game could be comparable. That they thought, well, we could just replace the numbers we had last year with the numbers this year. And now that we can't do that, well, now it looks terrible. That is what they're saying. So I do think it's fair to say that it is unfair to Rocksteady. Now, that is, I would say, completely separating it from what they did in Suicide Squad. I mean, you guys know I've done the review. We've talked about this game. I'm not a big fan. I think there is some good there. I'm willing to keep going and to try out the DLCs and see where it goes. I'm not, massively excited, but I'm interested. Let's see what happens. So they are not, without fault. It's not like you were completely, blindsided, maybe by these kind of expectations, but it's not like they did nothing wrong, in my opinion. They very, very much did. But at the same time, number one, we don't really know even how they got to being a live service game. It could have also been executives that then make these, projections. They could have been the ones to tell them to do in the first place. And then also, they're not the ones who, Rocksteady, they're not the ones who sets these things up, right? Again, it's WB. That's why the first part's true. It's sad, and it's, in this case, I don't really believe fair, again, taking away the quality of the game. It is not fair, literally at all, to think that Suicide Squad was going to do at Hogwarts Legacy. Again, for those that are informed, I was calling Hogwarts Legacy forever. There's many people that just knew Hogwarts Legacy is going to dominate. Now, did I think it was going to be like one of the higher selling games basically of all time, like top tier? No, I didn't think it would do that, but I thought the game would do extremely well, be extremely profitable. I thought they'd have no problem. I said that for years and was proven right. So you would hope that they thought so too. Now, I actually don't think they did. I think Hogwarts' success caught them by surprise, which is also shocking because, like, again, they're supposed to be the ones that know this stuff. Then fast forward a year, it's clear as day that Suicide Squad is not going to do as well, I think, as some of the bigger Arkham games, and it's also not going to do as well, not even close, to Hogwarts Legacy. Like, you're just not going to reach that. Anybody with a brain, I think, could have come up with that, at least the second one. Maybe, some of the Arkham game sales, I think they're a little ambiguous, and maybe they are reachable for Suicide Squad. But Hogwarts is a whole nother beast. Anybody with a working brain would tell you there's no way Suicide Squad was matching Hogwarts. Not a chance in hell, okay? And the game didn't. So what are these people doing with their projections or predictions or whatever? And then, like I said earlier, there are probably going to be consequences. And what if the expectations were just smaller? Now, at the same time, I will say this, right? That is giving a lot of credit. This entire thing would be giving a lot of credit, and again, not really looking at the quality of Suicide Squad. But here's another thing. They've been working on the game for so long. So, look, if the idea was, hey, this game costs $200 million, and I'm just throwing it, I don't know that for sure, but we do know pretty well that this game was in development for like at least 7 years. And, they're not as big as like some of these bigger Sony studios that cost, $250, $300 million to make. But those studios normally come out with games every 5 years. This one is 7, maybe even 8 years that they were working on this. Could this game have cost $200+ million? Yeah. And if it costs that much, then this game needs to sell really well just to break even. Just to start making money back, it would have to do elite numbers reserved for the top, at least half, probably more than top half, to be honest with you, but let's just say it, top half of the, gaming industry, top half of games that sell well, okay? That's just to start making money, not even making like a good amount of profit back. That's an issue. That's an industry issue. That's something that I've talked about many times just in the last even couple months. PlayStation, Xbox, all these companies have this problem. That could very well be a part of it, where maybe, they were hoping it could do what Hogwarts did, but also they were saying, well, we need this thing to sell like $300-400 million worth of revenue because we need to like make our money back because we lost it all, in the last, 5-6 years. That could absolutely be a part of it too. And if that part didn't meet expectations, then that just means the game didn't do, you know what I mean? That is, I think, more direct blame, where it's like, you can't have this happen. You can't have a game take this long and cost this much to completely bomb. And it seems like that happened. But again, there is no sales figures, so we don't know for sure. Like, the game could have done $2 million, and maybe they thought it was going to do $5 million. And you could argue, like, how believable, like, is that a realistic projection? So you could definitely argue. I would hear you out. But that's why it's a little bit more of a gray area. The Hogwarts comparison thing is absolutely, I think you can defend Rocksteady and say that's ridiculous. That is idiotic that somebody would think that. But again, it's not like there's zero blame. It's tough to place blame in the gaming industry because the people that cause certain things to happen, this is a little bit of a rant, the people that cause certain things to happen don't always like reveal themselves. And jobs are so like mucky and, like you can't find it. The people that were responsible for this game going in this direction, do you know who they are? Do you know for a fact who that you might think you know, but do we know for a fact who the head honchos are that made this happen? Probably not. Probably not. There are probably some executives at WB that had meetings back 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, pitched a live service idea, got them started, whatever it might have been, right? We don't know that. We don't know that, and we don't know who they are. So it is hard to place blame a lot of times, not just in this situation. A lot of times because you don't really know who to blame. Normally, people just take it out on the studio, which oftentimes is wrong. Maybe sometimes it's right, but oftentimes is wrong, right? Or they take it out on the wrong people at the studio, so on, so on. So it's not great. I do fear for, like, repercussions because, again, fair or not fair, this expectation thing, the game didn't meet expectations. That it's a failure to WB. And you could call them morons. You could say, they're bad business, whatever. And WB has made a lot of mistakes. Just in the last, 2 years, they've been atrocious, right? But And I'm not saying it doesn't matter in the sense that, like, nobody cares, nobody's going to get impacted. I'm saying it doesn't matter in the sense that it's cruel. It's like a cruel world. It doesn't matter because their say goes. Like that, what I mean? That's the business. They wanted, they needed, whatever, a certain thing. They didn't reach it. There might be consequences. You know what I mean? Even if it's not fair, there might be consequences in this cruel, sick world. So we'll see what happens. Like, I don't know. Like, does Rocksteady have people be laid off? Is the plug pulled on the project faster than what it was going to be? I don't know. I really don't know. So we'll see what happens, but keep an eye on it. We'll see maybe if sales come out for this game. But there's my thoughts, I guess, on this initial thing. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.